Trauma bond is an addiction, a repeated cycle of abuse, and you keep going back with the hope of experiencing the good times despite the chaos and emotional hurt that was caused by the abuser. Trauma bonding is as good as biting the hands that feeds you, but you keep trying to feed them despite being bitten because the connection you experience during feeding is so good that you like that little connection that you don't mind getting bitten over and over again. You are living in a fantasy and not being able to come out of that fantasy. It's extremely hard for anyone to pull you out from a fantasy that you're living in because the good times are really good and then the bad times are confusing. And then you are pulled back into the good times and you are going through the hard times again. And then the next thing you know is that you are there sitting on the edge of your seat, waiting again for the good time. And it's like a dose of a drug. My name is Rina Raji and welcome back to my channel. In this channel, we talk about childhood trauma, healing from narcissistic abuse, as well as attachment style, something that I have worked through over the last couple of years without any professional help. And I dedicate this channel to everyone who are currently on their healing journey, hoping that this information can bring some light and hope to you and help you as much as it did help me. So today we are going to talk about how you can break away from trauma bond in 4 steps. Step number 1, keep an inventory. Why this is important. Here's what you can do. Every single time you have emotional discomfort, whenever you're feeling overwhelmed, when you're upset, when you're feeling abused, and you just do not know how to justify or make sense of whatever that you're experiencing, that frustration, that confusion, the cognitive dissonance, that you just don't understand how this amazing, sweet, loving person can just flip the switch and go from being the most loving, sweet, caring person to being the complete opposite, acting out of character. Now, whenever you cannot make sense out of that, you have to start journaling your thoughts. Start writing about everything that happened in that particular scenario. What did you say? How did that person respond to you? Have they been deflecting? Are they avoiding accountability? Do they offer an apology? Or are they deflecting and blaming everything on you? So you want to keep a journal. You want to write down every little thing that happens in that context, on the dynamic of that relationship on a day-to-day basis, or whenever, as and when there is conflict. You want to make an inventory of everything that happens, the good, the bad, and especially the bad, and how often it happens. Here's what happens when you are writing it down. You have a safe space to express yourself. It becomes an outlet for your emotional expression, an unfiltered emotional expression of whatever it is that you're experiencing. Because a lot of times people who are in a trauma bonded toxic relationship, they struggle to talk about what's going on in that relationship to anyone else. And it can be very difficult for various reasons. You just don't want people to get involved. You don't want to involve family or friends, or also because sometimes the abusers seem to have a very different personality. They can come up very charming and very sweet, and they might just have the other people on their side, and for a fact if you're going to share it with others, people just won't seem to understand, or they're going to talk you out of it. Now, this can happen for various reasons. So the idea of keeping a journal is so that you can write down your emotions unfiltered. What happens here is when you write that down, you are going to be able to look at just how awful this person is making you feel. And as and when you have doubts, because what happens in a trauma bonded relationship, again, you are often confused between their reality and your reality because of the constant manipulation and gaslighting. Now, when you have a list of all the things that's happened and have experienced, there will be a point where you would question if that was something that really happened, or you were just imagining that. This is where whatever that you've written down comes to your aid. You can go back reflecting on everything that you've written down, and it would serve as a constant reminder to validate whatever is going on in that connection. Now, eventually what happens is, as you start writing it down, to start noticing the patterns that you are experiencing, because in a trauma bonded relationship, the repeated cycle of abuse seems to have the similar blueprint that would exist in every other trauma bonded relationship. There's going to be the love bombing phase, and then there's going to be the devaluation phase, and then there's just going to be that hoovering phase again, and then this goes again in hoops again and again and again, until one fine day you recognize just how exhausting this dynamic is, when you realize that you are actually losing control, you are losing a sense of yourself, and you start questioning reality. This is where your own memories in your unfiltered words will come to serve you. Number two is to deactivate your attachment system. And how do you deactivate your attachment system? This is not as easy as it may sound, because when we are in a connection with someone, now this can be any relationship, this can be family, this can be friendships or romantic connection, your activated attachment system will always pull you back into that connection. So after that good times, the honeymoon phase, and then you go through the devaluation phase and gaslighting and manipulation, and then when you're being hoovered back in, this is when you will need to start deactivating. And how can you deactivate? It's easier said than done, but it's not easy. So one way to deactivate, which I have found helpful for myself, is that I would keep going back to my journal. So in order for you to deactivate your attachment system, you need to have this constant reminder in your head that this is going to happen again and again, and no matter what you try, no matter how much you try to fix it, it is not going to change. So whenever you feel like you're getting sucked back into that vortex through that hoovering phase, you want to go back to look at your journal, everything that you have written, and you make a mental note to yourself, okay, this is what's happening. Okay, I'm going through this phase. Now this person is back at it, and they're trying to hoover me in, they're trying to guilt trip me, they're trying to get me back into this, and this whole thing is going to repeat again. So you would need to start deactivating your attachment system. When you're deactivating, you're telling yourself, okay, I know this is going to happen again. I am not going to let my attachment to take control of my mind and my heart, because this is not making me feel good. So deactivating is really, really hard, but one way that I found it to be helpful for me is whenever I was able to look back everything that I've written down, whenever I feel like I can go back to this person, I start missing the good times, the good memories, and you feel like you're getting drawn in again, I would read everything that happened and how it made me feel. I would remind myself how awful that this person made me feel, and how much they hurt me, and what they did, and how I felt that particular day, that particular time, and write it all down. That's why you have to be so authentic, and you need to write down an unfiltered version of your experiences. And when you look back at your own journal that you had written down, you get reminded of how bad things were and how painful it was and what this person had put you through. And that's how you hold yourself back and you start deactivating your attachment system. Now, this will take a very long time, and this can again be different for everyone depending on your circumstances. Now, if you're married and you have kids together, it would be very different. Now, for a family, it's different. If you live under the same roof, then you need to adopt few other techniques as well. And then in the case of a romantic connection, it can be different. So I will not get into details because these are more generic terms on what you can do to break the trauma bond. So you want to deactivate your attachment system, and to do so you have to constantly going back to reminding all the awful things they did to you instead of the good memories. You do not want the good memories to take control of you. You want to constantly remind yourself just all the horrible times that made you feel all the bad times. So I know this sounds morbid, but unfortunately that's just how you can break away from a toxic trauma bonded relationship. Step number 3, now this one is really important. As you begin deactivating your attachment system, you will now need to stop sharing important information of your life, because we share important information as a means to connect and bond with someone. But if you're going to deactivate your attachment system, you need to take a step back. You need to be able to detach from this person. So in order for you to detach, you need to stop sharing important information about yourself with this person, because giving access to your important days, important information like your career, your finances, or things that you're working on is going to allow them a chance to come back into your life and try to draw you in with their manipulation and their love bombing, which you want to avoid. So when you are deactivating your attachment system, you want to refrain sharing information about anything that's important to you. Stop sharing important information of your life. Don't give them much access. If they already know certain things, then there's nothing much you can do about it. But do not share about things that's going to happen in the near future, like anything that's good. Simply put, anything that's happening in your life, any good things that's happening for you, anything that's important, anything that is of significance to you, do not share it with them. Do not include them in any of these important details of your life. Limit access, limit sharing information, limit their access into your personal life. And that's how you would be able to create that detachment. And the last step, of course, is gray rock method and eventual no contact. Now, how does gray rock work? Again, by applying rule number 2 and rule number 3, you would eventually be able to establish gray rock, because then you only have conversations when it's important, when it's needed. Now, if it's a family member, you live under the same roof, or maybe you just have to be in touch, you can minimize having contact with them. And even when you do have contact with them, you only share what is necessary, what is important. You're not letting them into your life, you're not giving access or information, anything else about your life. So you keep it at a bare minimum. It's a very surface level transactional communication. And eventually, when you have the opportunity, especially for romantic connections, when you choose to go no contact, that's exactly what you want to do. You want to go no contact, block them on every communication medium possible, on any platform, social media, your emails, or anything that they may have access to. Because when you go no contact, you are allowing yourself the time and space to heal, to process the emotions, to reflect back on all the things that was not helping you, everything that was draining you and drowning you. You choose to go no contact. You do not want to allow that person to come back into your life. This is the time for you to heal and regroup yourself, coming back to terms in terms of what went wrong, how you got into that situation, reassessing your priorities, your needs, and what you can do better, how you can establish healthier boundaries so that this may not happen again in the near future. And of course, when you go no contact, what also happens, essentially, you would start realizing after a while just how awful that entire experience was. And the no contact is going to allow you the time to completely detach and disconnect from this person, because when you are in contact, you are allowing them the chance to draw you back in. But when you choose to go no contact, you are not giving them any chance or space to come back in and to who are you in, because toxic people are really, really good at that. Especially if they want something from you and they know they can get something out of you, they are never going to stop at it. They would try to get you back in, really depending on what their intentions are. So going no contact, allowing yourself the time to heal, and eventually during the no contact phase, you're just going to realize like how much peace you have, and how you are so much better than this relationship, and what you want, and you can prioritize on your healing and what you want in your life for yourself. So I hope that this 4 steps would help you, and these are very effective steps. I would say that keeping journal can never possibly go wrong, because it's going to help you to serve as a reminder at any point in your life when you are looking back. Even during your healing process, you can always go back and look back at just how awful that whole dynamic was, and that is just going to always help you to keep in check and stay on track, so you don't fall back into your old pattern, or you don't break away from that no contact rule and go back to connecting with them. Because sometimes, depending on our traumas and our attachment issues, we can tend to fall back into old patterns, and we do not want to do that during the no contact period. So I hope that this information helped you, and if you have any comments or suggestions or feedback, please feel free to leave them down in the comment below, and I will see you again in my next video. Thank you for watching, and see you guys again.